Now, if we were going to check it, we won't check every one that we do, but let's just check maybe this one or a couple of them so we can see what happens. You take your final answer, and I'm going to leave that 0 off and put my 0.015, and we want to multiply it by our divisor. Now, we have to multiply it by our original divisor before we move the decimal. So I'd want to multiply it by the 2.9. And then what I'm trying to see is if I get my original dividend. And you might go back to the very beginning here. What we want to get is 0.0435. So that's what we want to get. So you have to look at what you had originally there. Otherwise, you won't be seeing if you did your decimal right. So let's check this out and see. 9 times 5 gives us 45. Carry our 4. 9 and 4 is 13. Carry our 1. 9 times 0 is 0, but with the 1 we carry, we have 135. Then we multiply by 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry our 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus the 1 that we carried is 3. And 2 times 0 is 0. So when I add this up, I have 5, 3, 4, 0. And remember when we multiply, notice we did how we lined our numbers up to multiply. We played like the decimal wasn't even there and put the 29 and the 15. Now we count our decimal places. We have 3 in this factor, 1 in this factor. That gives us a total of 4. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4. So the decimal point would go here. That's where the decimal point should have been originally. If you look up here, it was at 0.0435 is where it was originally. So that's the way it should look when we check it. In this example, our problem is worded a little bit different. Find the quotient of 6 and 0.15, or find the quotient of 6 and 1500ths. When you see the words find the quotient, you divide it in the order that it's written. This really means 6 divided by the 0.15. So 6 needs to go under the division sign, and the 0.15 is what you're dividing by. So let's look and see how that would be written. So it's 6 divided by the 0.15. Now again, in order to do this problem, the divisor needs to be a whole number. So to make my divisor a whole number, now I didn't write this 0 down because it was just telling me there was no whole number. I have to move my decimal point 2 places to make the divisor a whole number. Well, when I look at the 6, it doesn't have a decimal showing. But since it's a whole number, the decimal is behind it. It'd be like that. And I've still got to move my decimal point 2 places because whatever I do for my divisor, I have to do to my dividend. So this is the case where we're going to have to add some zeros. You add as many zeros as you need so you can move that decimal. So I need to move the decimal 2 more places, or 2 places. I haven't moved it any yet. So I'm going to need to add 2 zeros, and then I can move it 2 places. And that's where it's going to end up. So what I'm actually doing, once I've made my divisor a whole number, I have 15. And I'm dividing that 15 into 600. So that's my new problem. Now, and if my decimal is actually on the end here. So if I wanted to put my decimal, I'd put it here. Might be I won't even need it if the answer comes out to be a whole number without any remainder. So let's see. 15 will not go into 6, but 15 will go into 60, and I believe it'll go 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20, and carry your 2. 4 and 2 gives you 6. So it gives us exactly the 60. When we subtract, we don't have anything left, but we're not finished because we don't have anything written over that second 0, so we need to bring it down. So you need to use up all your numbers. You need to bring it down and divide into it. 15 will go into 0. 0 times 15 is 0. So our answer is 40. If we wanted to check it, we take the 40 and multiply it times what we had originally here as our divisor, the 0.15. That would be 0, 20, 0, 4. I'm going to add things up, 0, 0, 6. Count my decimal places. none in the 40, 2 in the .15. Actually, that's supposed to be a plain 40 there. I accidentally made a little mark. So this one is supposed to have 2 decimal places, and this one doesn't have any. So my product should have 2. So if I count 2, it's going to be 6.00, which means the same thing as 6. Because you can always leave off zeros on the end. So I'm ending up with 6, and that is what my original dividend was. Notice it was a 6 here, and it was a 6 here before we moved our decimal point. So it does check. Our next example looks kind of interesting because it has all of these zeros in it. It's 0.0008918. We want to take that number and divide it by 0.049. Now, so we're taking a very tiny decimal number and dividing it by 0.049. So let's see what happens. Whatever we're dividing by, the by goes on the outside, so it's going to look like this. And if you'll notice, I've left off this 0, which told me that there was no whole number, and I left this 0 off so it wouldn't look quite so messy. So to make my divisor a whole number, I've got to move it 3 places, my decimal point. If I move it 3 places there, I've got to move it 3 places on the inside too. Now once I've done that, the number doesn't look quite so bad. What I have left is, when I made this divisor a whole number, my whole number I got was 49. So that's what I'm dividing by, is 49. And I'm dividing that 49 into, now I still have a decimal here because it was at the front and I just moved it over 3 places, so I have 0.8918. So that's what I'm dividing into. So, once we moved it, we bring our decimal straight up and we're ready to divide. Now we're dividing by 49. So we say 49 won't go into 8, but I got to hold that place. So I'll put a 0 there. 49 will go into 89 probably just 1 time. 4 will go into 8 2 times, but when you carry, that's probably going to be too much. So let's try 1. 1 times 49 is 49. When we subtract, we get almost enough for it to have gone another time, but not quite. As long as we get something smaller than that 49, it means it only went 1 time. Now we're ready to bring our next number down to 1. And it's going to be hard for us to know how many times 49 will go into 401. So let's just try some things. Why don't we see what happens if we try 49 times 9. That's 81. And carry my 8, 36 and 8 is 44. That's pretty close, but just a little bit too big. So let's try 49 times 8. That's 72. Carry my 7. 32 and 7 is 39. That's probably going to be what I need. So let's say 49 times 8. Put our 8 here, and we got 392. And now we need to subtract. We can't subtract 2 from 1, so we have to borrow. Make that 11, and that's going to leave this actually a 39 here. That's going to be hard for us to see. But it leaves it a 39. 2 from the 11, we made this 1 into an 11. Leaves us with a 9, and that's all we'll have when we subtract. Bring down our 8. 49 will go into 98 2 times. 2 times 49 is 98. So our quotient is 182 10,000. Now we probably write it 0.0182 to tell us that we didn't have a whole number there. If we want to check and see if it was right, we take the 182 10,000 and come over here and multiply it by the 0.049. And then we ought to get this original 0.0008918 if it's correct. And that is what we would get if we checked it.